I was telling people this 6, 8 years ago. Social media is the only place that you have equal footing with a company like Cureleaf. Why is that? Because they can pay for fake followers, but it doesn't gain them anything. So they could look big, but if they're not actually connecting with consumers, it's irrelevant.
And now, introducing the champion. All right, it's time.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the High Rise Podcast. This week, we have a very, very special guest. We got half of the Beard Bros here. We got Bill in the house today. Beard Bros, one of the leading cannabis media outlets, amongst many other things. Known Bill for years and super dope pillars of our community. And yeah, thanks for coming in today.
Well, I appreciate the introduction. I'm humbled by it, and we've always followed you guys and appreciate everything you do. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, hell yeah. Cool. So I know we got a lot to talk about today, but me personally, I want to know, like, I don't want to like go the full kind of like full story, but like, how did you get into weed? Like, how did you get to California? You know, like kind of maybe tell a little bit of that story, how you got here, and then from there we can kind of go into more of the media, brand, events, and kind of all the other stuff you guys got going on.
Absolutely. I didn't know it at the time, but I started using cannabis at a young age, probably around 13. I was a skateboarder, so I was always kind of outside the norm. So it just kind of seemed like the thing to do. But I also I didn't recognize till later, but it was really, it would center me. It would calm me. It would help me concentrate. So I guess you could say I was self-diagnosed ADD back in the 80s and just knew that cannabis was helping me, but didn't know the reason at the time. And so started consuming at a young age. By the time I was 18 or 19, I liked plants a lot. And I'd met some friends in Florida, so we started cultivating. So some of my first grows that were more than just a fluorescent in your closet was 4 light bedrooms, 5 light bedrooms, things like that in Florida in late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. And so love of plants, cultivation came right along with it. Fast forward to how we got more commercially into cannabis. In 2010, we were still living in Florida. My brother and I decided we wanted to pursue cannabis, so we ended up in right outside of Denver and Boulder for about a year. They changed some of their laws there, so we couldn't continue with the caregiver model where we were able to produce products and take them to dispensary and sell them to the dispensary for patients. And so we landed in LA in 2011. 2013 is when we officially started Beard Bros with a nonprofit, and so we were following the SB 420 model of collective consumption for a group of people. So everybody you would get on as a patient, you could grow 6 plants for, and so we just started building a reputation in LA for growing and providing quality meds to patients. Fast forwarding a little bit more, we were 16, 17. Prop 64 had passed in 16. It was not something we were a proponent for. We knew it was going to be over-regulating and overtaxing and burdensome. And California, quite honestly, in 15 had a pretty good system, right? Like right. The whole collective model and medical model was great in 15, 16. There was more products on the market than now. I mean, the amount of variety you could get back then was really amazing. All the different product innovations and things were really, really cool. But we recognized that LA was not going to be friendly to us, and so that was really where the media started. And it was simply nothing more than, well, if we're not going to have product on the shelf, how do I stay on people's minds? And we had obviously got into social media to promote ourselves before that, and we're like, well, we'll just be on social media. If they see us every day on Instagram or Facebook or whatever the case may be, we'll stay in people's minds until we can get products back on the shelf. So that was the impetus to starting media.
And did you guys have a media background at all, or like was that just kind of out of left field, or like a journalistic background or anything? Or
No, zero journalistic background. My brother has a marketing degree from Florida, but it was also from the 90s.
Right.
And so marketing from 90s to now is much different.
Yeah.
But no, really, it was born because we had started curating other people's content and giving our point of view in 15 and 16 leading up to Prop 64 being passed. And it was primarily to help our friends that were farmers try to obtain a license in this new world we were going into.
Right.
And so we recognized that people appreciated our point of view. We recognized that we were in the industry, so we had a different point of view than somebody who would just be writing about it journalistically. So no, we had no background in journalism. We just knew that people liked what we had to say. And again, it was a way just to stay relevant while we tried to get products back on the market after, that would have been the first time. Literally in 2018 was the first time in 6 years we didn't have products. in the LA market.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's crazy.
So you just ran up the media from 16 to 64, and then 164. That was, I think a lot of people in that time too, they're trying to figure out like, what are we going to do? It's going to go recreational legal. Like, what is the compliance going to be? I think a lot of brands that were successful in 215 were put on hold, right?
Yeah.
In that time as well. So
Yeah.
you guys just focused on the media, understanding that you're going to be out there, you're going to be providing value. You can always reintroduce, like cultivation and the cannabis brand is something that's you guys always grew on.
Yeah.
So let's build the media, fall back, see how this is going to play out. You can always reintroduce. And is that kind of how the media took off?
And that's how it happened. And when it came to reality in 18, because we became illegal. We were legal in California, paying the state taxes on the products that we produced from 2012 until 2018. At January 1st of 18, we became illegal because of Prop 64 after being legal for 6 years. And so again, the desire to help educate people, we knew if we educated people, if they went into a shop and they saw our products, they would probably associate, let's buy this product, because the people that produce this product, we see them and they're honest and they provide information and they're helping us learn. So again, no prior knowledge to media, just kind of, I guess maybe a natural ear for what people want, or natural eye for what people want to see.
Yeah, and genuinely wanted to create value. Like you said, you wanted to, all the homies that wanted to start brands, that wanted to go into cultivation. You guys had the blueprint. You guys have been doing this for years.
Just wanted to help people. We also recognized that what happened in the teens, specifically here in California, but for us specifically Los Angeles, it's never going to be duplicated. You're never going to be able to make a cannabis brand the way you could between 2010 and 2018 in Los Angeles. It's just never going to happen. Yeah. And so we recognized that we were in a spot in history that's not going to be duplicated, and just fully embrace the fact that a couple of guys from the East Coast that came to LA in 2011 could build a brand that would be known nationally.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're seeing people go into these new markets, Thailand, Germany, and they think, I have experience in California, but that window was your guys' window.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again. You're not going to go recreate the 215 model,
No.
gray area model in these other places.
I mean, look at Oklahoma. You can get a license there for $2,500. It's so oversaturated that you couldn't possibly build a national brand in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There's a couple that came out of it very early on, but like right now, if you were to go to Oklahoma right now, get a license, start producing products, your chance of creating a brand that would be known outside of Oklahoma is very limited.
Yeah, it's tough.
And then once you launched kind of like the media, like, did that take off pretty quickly? And like, what doors did that open for you guys? Like, did that kind of like help accelerate kind of some of the other things you guys were doing?
I think it did. So, prior to 2008's 4/20 of 18 is when we started our website. And so prior to that, we were just simply product-based and social media. People were watching our Instagram and such. And so the media took us from a respected, trusted SoCal cultivation brand to a national and if not worldwide trusted media source, which again, we call it the art of the pivot, where we knew we weren't going to be able to keep growing, so we had to do something else. We didn't anticipate the amount of attention we would get from the media we did. So in retrospect, the simple part of the media was, how do we stay alive? We need to pivot. And now when I look back, like it really catapulted us to a much more national and international prominence and knowing.
Yeah, you can't just be a brand, right? Like
Not
it has
anymore.
to be what.
Every brand's a media company.
Yeah,
now,
every
or
brand
whatever,
is a
right?
media
That's what it
company,
is, yeah.
and every brand has to have an identity or
Yeah.
a soul. And it's like you guys started Veterans, correct?
We're not veterans.
Oh, you're not veterans.
No, we're not
But
veterans, but we support them highly.
You guys have been supported. That's
We
how
are
I
so
remember-
supported that people think we are.
Exactly. So that's how I remember
Yeah.
obviously seeing you guys around, and from jump knowing there was a mission and a soul behind you guys.
Yeah.
Right. So being a cannabis brand and media, you can't just be a cannabis brand. You have to have whether you're involved in sports or different communities, it has to be something, and you guys have that arm, which is media.
You have to be more. I mean, we're watching this, right? The large companies that just have geometric pot logos, and the only thing they worry about is the bottom line. They're average. They're mids. They do what they do. They may or may not be here, right? So for us, we didn't grow up in California. So for us, when we got here in 11, it was like, this is amazing. We're providing medicine for patients. We're helping people. At the time, we were doing sessions. So a couple times a week, we got to stand and talk to patients about the meds they were buying directly from us at the sessions, and they would come back the next week and buy more of them because they liked it, they trusted us. We were telling them it was clean, we were showing them tests showing it was clean. And so just providing, so for us that was never lost on us. Like if you had grown up here, you might have lost fact that, people fought in 1996 to get Prop 215 passed. And it was simply medical, and it was simply a way for a doctor to get medicine to a patient, and that was it. Like that was the whole concept behind it. So we really took giving back as part of what you were just supposed to do, because we were so happy to be in a place where we weren't going to jail for growing pot, smoking pot, selling pot, talking about pot. And so, we just really embraced the LA culture as far as cannabis went.
And who were some of the media outlets that you guys followed prior to, I guess maybe early social media, and then obviously High Times, classic magazines? Who are some of the ones that you guys followed along with? For us,
our actual, the only reason, not the only reason, but the main reason we got into social media when we did is because we were working with Mickey Martin, who was at first Tainted Edibles, but then became Compassion Edibles later on. And so we were, as sales reps for Compassion Edibles, we were selling his edibles here in LA in 12 and 13, and that was actually the impetus to starting our own Instagram page. And so our social media foray came from people like Mickey Martin, who was very big on Facebook, and he used to just call out all the bad actors. Like that was just his thing. He didn't care. He'd call out anybody that was doing bad business. Made him a lot of enemies, but it also made a lot of fans. And so he passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. But we consider him a mentor, not only because he helped us get into the space, but his thing was, yes, I'm providing a product, but there's activism that has to be included with this. Not everybody has access yet. Not everybody understands all the properties to cannabis. People are, the whole East Coast back then was just pills and alcohol. Like you could use cannabis, but you weren't getting prescribed it. You weren't allowed to use it in a legal way. And so we just really embraced that. And so Mickey Martin did a lot. It's funny because we really did just kind of do our own thing. Like we were, we would put up Forbes articles and stuff and, summaries of them and give our spin on it. But I don't know if we even had anybody. Maybe that's what made us.
It was out of necessity.
Different. Yeah, what made us different. We just did what
Organic.
we felt media should be for cannabis.
Awesome, man.
And I think, as we all know, it's not a easy task creating cannabis media or marketing cannabis, let alone what were some of those challenges? What were some of those kind of difficult times trying to navigate all this?
Yeah, I mean, the ironic part is we built Beard Bros, the product brand, on Instagram. So 13, 14, 15, when we just started our Instagram and we were looking for dispensaries, they were all on Instagram back in the day in LA. And so you could just spend time looking for dispensaries, slip into the DM, ask them if they wanted to see some of your packs, and that would be it. Now, Mickey also helped us get into, because we would show up with a bunch of sample edibles. And the people would be like, oh, this is amazing. He had baklava and truffles and pita crisps and caramel corn. Back in the day when everybody was just making cookies, right? Like I was saying, cookies and brownies is all we had back then. And so he would get us in. I would show them these edibles. They'd say, these are great. They might place an order with him. And I'd say, we're cultivators here locally. I've got some packs in the trunk. You want to look at them? And so we built Beard Bros, the product brand, on Instagram. And we also were recognizing, when I would go in and show people flowers in a bag, we started hashtagging all of our flowers while they were growing in the warehouses with BB underscore and then the product name or the strain name. And so now I had a flip book or a pitch deck by the hashtag on my Instagram, and so I could show the purchasers what the product looked like growing in my warehouse before it got put in a bag and brought to them.
Your portfolio.
And so we were using social media just unknowingly. We've been using social media for a long time, again, through necessity and having to just pivot what you're doing.
And it was just a tool at that time too, when it's like the Wild West on social media before the shadow ban and all that. I mean, I guess at that time too, you guys don't know, everybody coming from the traditional market, you're no face, no case, really scared, kind of putting it out there. But at the same time, you get this access, this direct access when you've been operating for decades of just the full traditional model of meeting up in cars or, now you're like, oh my God, I can DM someone and create a hashtag and send them my hashtag and they can see all the people that have bought that shit and fuck with this. And that's got to be incredible, just opening Pandora's box.
Coming from the East Coast, where you went to jail for anything, it was amazing. And that's why I say we really embraced it. So I think that my brother and I just had a really different view on what LA had to offer, rather than people, and nothing against them, but when you live in a bubble, you don't know you're living in the bubble. It's when you come into a new bubble and you recognize all the things that you may take for granted when you live it.
100%. You're dropped in that. You gotta every relationship is new. You know what I mean? New reputation. Like it's a whole new start and wide-eyed psychedelic experience.
And let's face it, you could not do what we did on Instagram anymore.
Nope.
They have changed it completely. We had 120,000 followers when we got deleted about 3 years ago. You can't build a cannabis brand from 0 to 120,000 real followers. You can't even do it. They've got us.
Say that again. That's like the number one thing. Like
it's horrible.
Yeah.
You can't. I am so limited. And what they've done is they don't call it a shadow ban, but what they do, I figured it out. They only let the people that are following you see your content. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. You don't get put on the Explore page. You don't get shown outside of your own little area, and so you're just speaking to the same people, and it's fine because you want to get your information to your followers, but it's horrible for any type of growth. And they've just done that, so they don't call it a shadow ban. They just limit who sees you.
They figured it out at this a few years ago when it's like they killed all the hashtags once you're not on the Explore. Yep. You know, our Explore pages used to be nothing but just crazy cannabis content, and now you might see a sprinkle of some glass or something in there, you know, but once they figured that out, man, that just suppressed everybody. It was
totally.
Took them a lot. It took them years. I remember like the different like the mass deletions. They tried so many different things, and like after a few years, they figured out how to just take it off the Explore page and like we can't and type the whole name in. You can't find each other.
That's
like,
us.
Is it Beard Bros Farms? Is it Beard Bros? But like it's same shit. High Rise Co. Like and then the fake accounts of you come up before your accounts,
they all the time.
Yeah, it's
because they're not shadow banned.
Yeah, frustrating, but it's fun. I mean, like you said, we grew up skateboarding. We're not supposed to skate here. We know this. We're doing it anyway. You know,
Rebels.
Yeah,
we're used to doing it the rebel way.
Yeah. So.
And then what about the Friday Sesh newsletter?
Yeah.
When did that start? Was that from Jump Street, or was that like kind of later on that was launched? Or?
In 2018, we started the beerbrosfarms.com website, and then we started a newsletter at the same time. So in early 2018 is when the newsletter started. It was really the idea behind the newsletter was so that when we got deleted again, we could tell people where we were on social media. Swear to God, that was the point. Because we kept thinking, like we started getting deleted around 2015-ish, 16, late 15, early 16 is when the deletions really started coming into play. And we were like, what if they delete us? How are people even going to know where we are and what we're doing? And so that was what it started with. But then we recognized later on that the power of having a newsletter that was, again, organically created, has people that have been following you for years. And now it's actually a powerful media tool for us. But at the time, it was simply about how would we tell people where we are when they delete us the next time?
1000%. That's what I've been telling brands like that. Your email list, it's like such a valuable asset that not a lot of brands even really think about or consider. And it's like you said, like you get your IG account taken down, there goes all your followers.
Yep.
Your email, you got that for life, you
Yep.
know? So like, I think that's very smart, like putting more energy into that for sure, yeah.
The other thing that's really taken off in the last few years is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They won't delete you there. I mean, they will. I've got deleted one time, but I think it was just personal reasons. But they will literally allow you to advertise sales at your retail without deleting you. So honestly, I know this sounds crazy, LinkedIn is a place where on Instagram, I cannot put up a title or write a caption that doesn't include the word cannabis or marijuana. I just can't, because we're talking about news of cannabis and marijuana. So you can't do that. And I don't want to put the lines through it. I don't want to spell it with an asterisk or any of that other shit. And so we just stay perpetually shadow banned. But I'm going to tell you what, in LinkedIn in the last 3 to 4 years, we have gained a huge following. The metrics there are better than...
The organic reach is...
It's insane.
Great.
They actually do it like Instagram used to, where you see what your friends liked or commented on. And they perpetuate that organic following on purpose. Instagram has turned us into we are the actual what they're selling, and they're selling us to advertisers. And so LinkedIn does advertising, but they still have the organic reach, because I get on there and I see what my brother liked and what my friend commented on and what this brand that I follow said. And so that's what your timeline's filled up with, not what they're suggesting because somebody paid them to be in front of
keep you in an echo chamber with your own thoughts. You know what I mean?
So LinkedIn has been popping the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
especially in the industry.
We've gotten some of our biggest clients from LinkedIn, just cold emails from LinkedIn.
This
amazing.
week,
Even
this week
today,
yeah.
actually, going, yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, LinkedIn is, anybody in cannabis who's not on LinkedIn has been missing out, and you better jump on it.
Yeah, it's definitely the sleeper for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was so our friend Fabian used to do this thing called the Coalition, and he was leading into Prop 64. He was getting all of the small farms in NorCal to come together and have meetings and talk about how do we survive this. And this is before we even knew they were going to screw us all by the license stacking, right? Allowing multiple small licenses to be purchased and stacked up to 1 million square feet. And we were even telling the small farmers back then, even if it's just a picture of you and your dog in your greenhouse every single morning, do something, because at some point you are going to want to have contact with your direct consumers. At some point we're going to get to that, and if you build up a following, they can't take it from you, right? And so very similar to the reason we called ourselves farms to begin with a PH. We've taken a little bit of slack for it, but the reality of it was, even in 2013, we knew that the government was going to flip the script on us. We have been fighting for medical cannabis for all these years, right? They're going to flip it. They're going to call it medical. They just did it. Reschedule, Schedule 3. Nobody in California that operates, I shouldn't say nobody, 1% of the people that operate in California could actually do a Schedule 3 happening. And so now they're using the medical claim against us. And so it's the same type of thing. We're just fighting this battle of constantly having to pivot and reinvent yourself.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, obviously media is like no small task. Like, is it you and Jeff on everything, or do you guys have a team now, or like?
We have brought people in,
Yeah.
and so my son works with us as well. We've got people like Brian Holler that have come on as our CRO to help us stay focused, because we want to do a lot of altruistic things and things like that. But at the same time, you have to make your money to live first, and then do your altruistic things second. And so we are in the process of bringing people in, but for the most part, we have a few writers that have been with us for about 5 or 6 years that write stuff. But beyond that, it's a very small team. It's under 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
Overall.
Which allows you to pivot.
It does allow us to pivot.
Yeah.
With all this.
And yeah, so something you just touched on too. One of my favorite Gary V whatever sayings, quotes, whatever you want to call it, is I don't even know if it's a quote, but basically the point of this is in emerging markets like cannabis, if you're at the top of your game, you're going to be drowned by opportunity. And it's what opportunities, how do you navigate? I'm sure you guys are flooded with so many people coming at you trying to do projects and launch things and collabs and all these things. How do you guys vet that? How do you guys stay focused or decide what projects you want to put your time into?
It's been a process. We've had to learn how to do it, because when we first started into it, in 18, when Prop 64 was happening, and we were struggling to get products in the market, we were looking for everything. I mean, it's so funny. I never thought about this till right now. We used to say yes to everything and then sort it out later.
Yeah.
That's honestly just a naive point of view. I didn't realize at the time, because once you get enough notoriety, you can't say yes to everything. And so for us, it's just come back to a balance of everybody needs income, but we also want to continue to give back, whether that's education or product donations or whatever that may be. So it's become a process I've had to learn, because I want to say yes to everything. But some of the things we've done is we recognize that because we had to shut down our cultivation, we pivoted more to doing manufactured products. So we had always been known for RSO, and so we started manufacturing RSO just to stay relevant in the market, hoping to have a cultivation of our own that we could get back into flowers. But what we recognized there, again, another pivot that we later on realized, a manufactured product is the same in California as it is in Missouri, as it is in Massachusetts. And so you can expand with manufactured products much easier than trying to reproduce a plant.
SOPs for grows and all the,
Let's face it,
1000%.
you could have the same plant in the same room and have microclimates, and it would be slightly different in the exact same room you're growing it in.
Right.
So let's not even talk about different batches. Let's just talk about where it is. So we recognized as we started going down that, hey, this is a good way for us to expand nationally, because our product will be the same in California as it is in
Same
Massachusetts.
recipe, same formula, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things we've learned to say yes to. And so we started doing licensing deals in other states, a licensing deal that we have in Canada. We are curating flowers from small farms and promoting that small farm and then releasing that to Canada. So again, even in another country, we try to stick true to promoting the little guys, helping people out so that we're not just stuck with 5 big weed companies.
So let's talk about the products a little more and the brand a little bit more. So how is that? You know what I mean? Now it's okay, now we're gonna do a brand. We tried the brand thing, and it was such an eye opener from just it's not easy.
It is a lot of work,
Yeah.
and it's not easy. So here's the ironic part, and as I'm speaking with you guys, I'm recognizing how all of our pivots just honestly came from a place of wanting to survive and continue doing what we're doing. I mean, let's face it, we cultivate, we create cannabis, and we live within this, the community of cannabis. I mean, honestly, I can't really think of a better job to have. And so with us, our RSO production started in 2013 and 14. We were doing like all the other cultivators, and we would take our products to extract artists. And I should put up the air quotes for that. Extract artists. The problem was not all of them were honest. And so you would give people a product, they would tell you that they're going to get you a 10 or 15 or 20% return. Then when it comes time to return it, oh, it was low, it was only 5 or 6%. It wasn't, it was really higher. And then you do a split. And so the extract artist ended up with more of our concentrate than we did. Right, for nothing.
Yeah.
They made it. I shouldn't say nothing. They had expenses to make it. And so we're like, okay, so how do we get around this? And we're like, well, when I would go to dispensaries and bring them pounds, what I recognized was that they would never have a consistent supply of RSO. I'm like, well, hey, instead of let's following hype, and the shatter, if it doesn't shatter, it don't matter. Forget that. Let's make RSO. I know that we're going to be helping people. It's a steady product that we can take to dispensaries. I go there. So then we start taking 10 pounds and 200 grams of RSO to all the dispensaries. And so the RSO was just born out of wanting to continue to provide a good product to people and not get taken advantage of, right?
Yeah.
Which is just natural.
Yeah.
And so more recently, so we had the RSO, we got it into the regulated market in California late in 18. And so we've had it there, that's 5 years now. But we recognized, and again, another thing we recognized was coming from the East Coast. I had a lot of friends of mine, and I'm in my early 50s, and so all my friends were people that had been taking pills and alcohol for years for their illnesses, and they didn't know anything about cannabis, and they had these really, really low tolerances for edibles, I found. And so I said, okay, now I got an RSO, great for people that are sick or people that have tolerances that are used to it, but it's really hard to get less than about a 35 milligram dose of THC with an RSO. That's like a couple grains of rice is 35 milligrams. And so I thought, oh my gosh, we only have our product available to like 1% of cannabis consumers, not even just consumers, period. And so I thought, how do we dilute our product so somebody could take a 5 or even a 2.5 milligram dose? And that's where we got our tinctures out of. And so essentially the tinctures are a diluted gram of RSO in a tincture bottle so that we have a broader market, but we can also introduce the product to more people. And so, that's where that product line came in. And now we're in Missouri and Massachusetts with the RSO, and we're going to be rolling out. The idea is we want to build out an entire RSO product line, from the base product being a THC and a CBD RSO, to tinctures, to gummies, to topicals, anything that would fall in the medical spectrum. We're going to create an RSO product.
That's great. I love it. It's just not saturated, and it's all love and compassion with the product. You know what I mean? That's like why we have medical cannabis in the first place, is from the RSO, correct? So
we like to stay true to that.
Yeah,
that's where it came from. It was
that's
born
legacy
out of compassion, right?
That's legacy product right there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, and there's a story behind it, and it's genuinely made to help people.
Yeah,
that's great. So let's talk about, you're in those states and in Canada as well. You're saying, what's it been like navigating the Canadian market?
The Canadian market's interesting. One of the, we talked about this a little bit with getting into products. The most difficult part with products, I'm not gonna lie, is usually the packaging. And especially when you start going to different states.
Oh yeah.
And so Canada's relatively easy. They don't allow you to do anything.
Nothing.
The packaging is a black bag, a single color bag with nothing more than your name. Missouri is actually very similar. Missouri will not allow you to have any cartoon characters. So literally our faces on our logo were not allowed. We were denied by the cannabis, the CCC or whatever it is in Missouri, that our logo was no good. So we had to just go with our name, Bureau Bros Farms. That was all we could put on the packaging. And so there's a lot of stuff like that, but it's just understanding and recognizing. So right now we have packaging in 4 different places. It requires 4 different designs, 4 different requirements to go on each one, and so it gets very interesting. But once you get those things down, it makes the next one easier, right? And so with the first place we went into was Massachusetts over a year ago, and that was a little bit more difficult than the last time we did it, where we did stuff into Missouri. So it gets easier as you go, but it's very difficult to navigate. I mean, I just think about it. Every pack of cigarettes had to have 50 different things on it, or every beer had to have 50 different labels on it for every individual state. It's just utterly ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah, I had a nice eye-opening doing a packaging project a few months back in It's for a brand in New York. And like, I just kind of, getting started on stuff, whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you might want to look at these, whatever, packaging guidelines. And I'm like looking through the like 70-page thing. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
What size font? They break it down to the size font, the style font, the things you have to include.
The saturation of the color, like, it's crazy. Like,
California's so stupid, they make us include the Prop 65 cancer warning on cannabis products, right?
That's like when you go to like Burger King and they have
right here at the bottom of our packaging, it has a warning: consuming this product during pregnancy, expose your child to Delta 9, a liability. There's a government warning: this product contains cannabis, a scheduled substance that can cause cancer. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they make us put on the packaging.
The thing that got medicinal,
right?
That went medicinal for helping cancer. Would you like a dab?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, cool.
So what are some other states you guys are looking at?
We're from Pennsylvania and Florida, right? So we grew up in Pennsylvania, lived in Florida for 20 years before moving out here. So Florida's been something we've been looking at. Obviously, most people listening to this probably know that there was some collusion early on that created a hyper closed market in Florida, and it's super difficult to get into. They changed their licensing fees most recently. Ron DeSantis put it up to like 1.1 million every 2 years. So just to have a license in Florida, you have to have $600,000 a year laying around to get a license. So Florida is a place we're looking at. We are talking with some people about licensing deals there. New York is something that's always been close to our heart because we grew up in Pennsylvania. And we wanted to jump in there quickly, but the way they've rolled it out, it's been an absolute disaster. There's 100 dispensaries now, and there should be probably 1,000.
Yeah.
They've done a really, really poor job. So we said, hey, we're not cash flush. We can't afford to make mistakes. So let's wait till the market, develops there a little bit more. The states we are in, we had connections with people that we trusted, and so we were willing to go into Missouri and Massachusetts with people that we trusted, and we're still just looking for that. Other states are doing well. Michigan's doing well.
Michigan's a great market.
Yeah, and it's surprising. Missouri is got 7 states around it, and only one of them has anything, which is Illinois. I think maybe Oklahoma, I guess, has touched them, but basically Missouri is sucking up 7 states worth of cannabis income right now.
That's crazy.
Because Illinois is too expensive.
Shit out there, yeah.
We were in Kansas
Iowa.
City. We're in Kansas City, and we're in downtown KC, and they're saying it's like 15 minutes away from the border to the other state. I don't know my Midwest.
Kansas, you go to jail for a year for a joint still.
Exactly,
It's crazy.
and there's all the universities around, so all these college kids can just drive 15 minutes into KC and just grab their weed and head back.
Missouri's eating it up right now. They're smart about it. They have
Crazy.
very low taxes. It's actually they are somewhat limited on licenses as well, which I'd like to see them a little bit more open on their licenses. But they were smart about their taxes are low, right? It's like 6% tax.
Crazy.
Compared to California, we get hit with 27% as the excise tax on the way out the retail door, right? So our add-on tax at the end after all the other taxes is 1/5 what their tax is. So
Crazy.
Does having the media presence, are you able to leverage that with the product side? Like, does that help getting into like shops? Like, you guys have a huge platform. Like, I'm sure they're like more inclined to taking the conversation or whatever.
It does. We are able to promote ourselves and them. So anytime a brand can work with a retailer or somebody that they're trying to collaborate with to where you can increase their reach along with your own reach, it's beneficial. And so we've leaned into that. I mean, we do retail spotlights on our partner brands and people that are buying our product. So we provide them a value that's beyond the product, which again, you can't just be a product brand anymore.
Right.
You're either giving them free product on promotion or you're doing something else to create more value. I remember hearing about a year ago, I heard somebody who runs one of the Florida companies saying, 5 years ago it was enough just to have a name. A name doesn't get you into these situations anymore. It's got to be a name and formulations and some type of a fan following or a media presence. And so, like you said earlier, you cannot be just a product brand anymore. You have to be multifaceted. You have to be able to pivot.
It's a partnership, and what value do you bring? Strategic partnerships,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, and I'm sure on the other side, it also opens up so many relationships and connections on the other side of business. So you're able to just kind of stem out all these,
It is valuable, but at the same time, we walk a really odd line that nobody else walks. We're a brand that also reports on the news. And so there's a lot of times overlap.
Yeah.
And so that's something we've taken very seriously and very careful. because we don't ever want people to think we're taking advantage of anything, of any of their followings, of any of the gracious, following and support that we get. We wouldn't want people to think that, but it puts you in a weird spot because you're not only a product, but you're also talking about other people's products potentially.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely an interesting line to have to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like this, also walking that line of not putting bias into your content, when you're in the mix with all these other competitors and partners.
Right. Reporting the facts, which is what everybody should be doing.
You just have to. You just stay honest and truthful, and then you don't have to look over your back, or you don't have to deal with shit in the future.
Yeah, present the sides of any story in an equal manner, and let the people make their decision on what they feel about it. Just present the facts is what we. Again, it's an interesting line to walk. It's great for self-promotion, right? And that's a very interesting line to walk too. Like, you can't be overly promoting yourself on a platform that you build on education. And so we're very conscious of that. We do feel that
it's just like by you guys doing a good job, that is promoting.
It's the fucking macro. It's just the big picture.
Providing value.
That's branding. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Branding is a long-term thing. We always talk about in this podcast. It's not overnight. There's no ROI in it. Like, it's something that you have to dedicate 15, 20 years to providing value, and you don't have to plaster your shit everywhere. It's coming from Beard Bros. They know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to put the watermarks everywhere. It's coming from your account.
You reinvest in yourself. Branding is literally a reinvestment in yourself for the future.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a good way to put it.
Perfect.
Yeah. I want to talk about events a little bit. So we did. What was the one? It was the one at the Green Street building.
Friday Sesh Live.
Friday Sesh Live. Yeah, that was dope. So do you guys have any more planned or what?
We do. And so the way that came about was we started our newsletter that we talked about starting in 18.
In-person version.
Called the Friday Sesh Live. And for 6 years now, people have asked us, how do we come to the Friday Sesh? We want to sesh with you guys.
Yeah.
How do we come to the Friday Sesh? And so about 6 months ago, we were just like, you know what? We just need to throw an event because everybody thinks it's an actual sesh. So let's build on that. And so we talked with Rama, and he offered that space, which was fantastic. We're going to be doing more of them. It's really just a great way to bring what we feel is it's a cross of the industry and the community. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. The reality of it is there's the way that cannabis is panned out nationally right now. It would be great if you could be 100% culture and community and survive, or 100% business and survive, but you can't. There needs to be a mixing. And so I don't have the capital required to get in all these different places, so I have to work with people that do. And so there has to be it's not always a 50-50 mix of culture and business, but there needs to be something. You need some business acumen. It's not where you just grow good pot anymore and it sells itself. Those days are somewhat over as far as the regulated market goes. And so you have to have a mix to it. And it's so you just have to accept that, and then you have to try to keep as much of your own community morals as you can while mixing with the business side of things.
Yeah, we always kind of look at it in like a Robin Hood sense almost. It's like, yeah, maybe some of these brands we don't want to work with or whatever, but like, we'll work with them, we'll take the money and we'll dump it all directly back into the community, and we'll throw these events for everybody and provide value and, kind of give back in other ways or whatever. But yeah, walking that line is definitely, can be tricky.
Yeah, no, it is very tricky. Something we're very conscious of. So we just, we wouldn't ever want to spend the amount of time we did, building the reputation we did to just throw it away for any kind of quick gain, short-term gain. That'd be stupid.
For sure.
And then it's also like, you got to work with some people because core is poor, and like, you're not going to be able to help anybody else if you don't make any money too.
Exactly,
so there's kind of walking that line as well,
We none of us took vows of chastity. None of us took vows of poverty, right?
Yeah,
we want to help people, but at the same time, if you're not eating, you can't help anybody else.
Exactly, you got to help yourself before you can help anybody else. So
Yeah.
that's great. What else you got? I know you got a whole
Shit, this has been fucking great so far. I want to touch on like a little bit of like more of the marketing side of things. Like, who are some of the like people you look at for inspiration or that inspire
like outside
how you
cannabis,
guys market
maybe.
your brand? Yeah, not even, could just be anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic. I don't know if I don't really look too much outside of it, other than
You guys follow Gary Vee, right?
I was just going to say,
Gary
other than
Vee.
the connection with us and Rama to Gary Vee, I do look at what he says because what he does say does make sense across the entire marketing board.
For sure.
It makes total sense. Not all of it applies to cannabis because we do work in an interesting little microcosm, but it's also good. I've taken things that he said and modified it and used it for cannabis and marketing like that. For us, it's just, gosh, I hate all these things where you got to cross out the word cannabis or not use the word weed or not use marijuana. Like, and so it's been trial and error. We've
I was
lost
gonna say,
accounts.
or is it just throw shit at the wall, see what sticks, and kind of like.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that originally,
Right.
and that's what got us deleted. So we've backed that off a little
Yeah.
bit. We have rounded the edges a little bit because we recognized, it's great to be edgy, but at the same time, longevity is important. And so if you're edgy for a year and that's all you get, or you're able to make an impact for 5 or 10 or 15 years, I'm going to take the longer term play. And so I wonder what they're going to do with marketing. Like the moment that there's a reschedule or a deschedule and the feds stop considering it public enemy number one, does Meta just say, okay, go ahead? Like, how does that look? I actually get on Instagram and troll Masseri, the guy that owns or runs Instagram, because he's always on there talking about content creation. And I'm like, you have an entire world of people trying to create cannabis content, and you ban us, you discriminate us against us, you ruin things we're doing, you take money out of our pockets, and yet here you are touting how great Instagram is for creators. And it's not. So, but I also noticed my engagement went down, so I've kind of stopped doing that as much too. But I would tag him on his own post and say, when are you going to stop? When are you going to stop being? I just totally forgot the word. When are you going to stop being discriminatory towards cannabis content? When are you going to stop? Deleting accounts that have the word cannabis in them? Like, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, I get it. Like, it's whatever. I get the legal side, whatever. But like, define it. Like. The definition of what you can and can't do on Instagram is so vague and so gray, and like why can't you just give me the exacts? And then it's like some accounts can like break all the rules and they're fine,
right?
And then other accounts, they break one rule, they get deleted, and it's just like it's so all over the place. And I don't know.
And the trap brands are just you're gonna get followed by 20 trap dudes anyway a day. It's the same thing as the recreational market. Right. It's like you're gonna make all these loopholes and this bullshit for the people that are paying to play, and then you're gonna just make it hard for them, and now all these the trap's going to win in California.
Yeah. And it's not even just a trap. So Meta allows hemp-derived advertisements. There's a company out there now doing $100 million a year selling Delta 9 edibles all across the country, advertising on Facebook and Instagram and everything else. And so there's two different levels of who are you and what are you doing, right? And so I get these commercials for 100 milligram pack of gummies to be sent to my house.
Crazy. Mood edibles
is $100 million last year. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Just full loophole shit going on. Plus,
to calculate work every little,
whoever they're talking to down there at Meta.
Yeah. Well, because they're hemp derived, they can spend money. Mm-hmm. What I've learned over the years is if you can pay Meta, they're happy to let you advertise.
Yeah, if you can meet somebody down there to pay them. Shit.
They stopped us from being able to advertise on our Facebook in 2018 because we were selling baseball hats with our logo on it. So I haven't been able to advertise on Facebook for 6 years now because I was selling hats.
I think our Facebook got banned 6 years ago as well.
So they must have been on one in 18 to stop anything that had to do with
that was a year before. That was like a year before rec. It was interesting. I remember we lost our YouTube right around 18, and then we got it back the same weekend. Something happened, like
a year later, right?
A year later, but it was like the weekend that like High Times was going to try to launch High Times TV, or it was like the same weekend, and YouTube was like, oh, some people can have their shit back because they were like scared or something. I don't even know.
As far as what I've recognized is, Rama was somebody I looked up to because he had market experience with Gary Vee. Again, we just kind of do our own thing. I don't really have examples I necessarily look to. But the one thing I will say that by going into media from absolutely zero knowledge, I had no bad habits, no preconceived notions. But what I have learned since then about SEO and placement and things like that is invaluable. Like we said earlier, everybody's got to be a brand to some degree. And when you understand those things, I mean, there's a lot of things that people say and they go, oh, that might be a kind of a dry article for Beer Bros to put out. But it wasn't really meant as a social media article. We still put it there. But the idea was it's online and it's gaining us impressions and clicks and things online. And that all plays into when people do want to do media with us, paid media, we have to be able to show them numbers. And so part of our conversion over the years was we didn't even care. We started our media in 18. We never made $1 until probably late 2021. It was just a passion project, and it was something that we liked providing information that was accurate to our friends and followers. And we since then we've been having to now define an ROI. Like you said earlier, what is the ROI? Well, you know what it is? It's me like counting impressions on LinkedIn or clicks on Facebook or whatever the case may be. But there is no just definitive ROI on cannabis marketing right now. And so I feel like we're learning that stuff guerrilla in the trenches, and I have as much knowledge on that as somebody who's been doing marketing for 30 years, if not more knowledge on how to market cannabis.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, like kind of how I like pivot in a lot of client conversations or whatever. It's like everybody's in the same boat. It's like, yeah, there's all these things, whatever, but like we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to figure it out.
Yep.
So it's like, not like one dude has it all, you know, all these secret things or whatever, like unless they're paying meta or some shit, but like, I don't know, you know, so it's like, we're all trying to just figure it out.
Yeah, and part of our reason, again, for really leaning into social media, and I was telling people this 6-8 years ago, social media is the only place that you have equal footing with a company like Cureleaf. Why is that? Because they can pay for fake followers, but it doesn't gain them anything. So they could look big, but if they're not actually connecting with consumers, it's irrelevant. So I always look at us as we're equal with Trulieve and Cureleaf and GTIs. You know, the people that are billion-dollar companies, Beer Bros is equal to them on Instagram. Matter of fact, we're worth more on Instagram than they are. And so that was, you know, that was the only way David can really fight Goliath, is to go to the free platforms and win the consumers and the patients and the people over.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a
we were talking about that
meritocracy,
like
right?
the last episode, like perception or whatever. It's like perception's reality, you know, it's like
People think we're much bigger than we are.
same here.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh,
great.
yeah.
I'm both grateful and not grateful for that.
Yeah.
At the same
It works in
time.
your favor
Yeah.
sometimes, and sometimes
Yes.
it's like tough.
No, totally.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, I got one more question for you. So like, obviously this job, if you want to even call it a job, but this lifestyle is like amazing. And like, I'm sure it's led us to like crazy experiences and destinations and meeting like crazy people. And so like, what are some of those for you that's like, you know, cool people you met, or, you know, places you've gone, anything that kind of like stands out?
I mean, it's really taken us places. If I just think about a few, I mean, I got to didn't even get to promote this one, but it's definitely a highlight of my life. We were at the Woods. I was there with Devin, one of the owners. Unbeknownst to me, Woody was there too. He put me in a specific spot there. Next thing I know, I spent the next hour and a half educating Woody on the current state of cannabis
Epic.
industry news.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, didn't even think about my phone for 1 second, didn't take a photo, was just completely in the moment. So I got to meet Gary through Rama at an event. I just was at a concert that Method Man did, and we were in the green room hanging out with Method Man. And so, I mean, I could probably go on and on and on the list of people that you get to meet. Cannabis really is a door opener. Let's face it, I'm getting goosebumps saying
Yeah.
it now, because it truly does. Like, cannabis crosses every single
It's a
line,
melting pot of just
every
like
demographic.
yeah.
You have no idea who's going to consume cannabis.
Yeah.
It could be everybody from the janitor to the brain surgeon or rocket scientist.
Yeah.
Grandma,
And everybody in
doesn't even
between.
know, yeah.
Grandma's a great example.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, what's next? What do you got coming
What's
up? Anything you want
next?
to plug? What's kind of on the horizon?
Yeah, we're just continuing to expand the media offerings. I would say we are probably approaching 2,000 articles on the website over the
shit.
last 6 years. So we're continuing to do that.
Are those
build
daily?
that.
Those go out daily?
We try to do 2 articles a day. So we try to do about 10 articles a week, based from, you know, just industry regulation, taxation stuff, all the way to culture pieces. We try to also put up articles that would promote, you know, pioneers that had passed and things like that, so people recognize it. I want people to understand where we came from. Like, the average person now that's 25 years old that can just go to a dispensary and buy a joint has no idea what the people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s had to go through so that they could go to the store and buy a joint.
Totally.
And so we like to make sure that stays on top. So expanding beerbrosfarms.com. We're getting into more live events, not only promoting our own, but working with other events. We're going to be doing some neat things at Hall of Flowers
Dope.
coming up in Santa Rosa, and also we're already talking about Ventura next year. So we've got some cool things we're going to do with them. MJ Biz has now started reaching out to people that are in the culture part of the industry, recognizing that you can't go on just business. Like I said earlier, you have to have a mix of culture and business, because that's where we're at. And so not only producing and promoting our own events, but being part of the established events. We've been involved with the Emerald Cup for years now. My brother was an edible judge for the 3rd year. I was a pre-roll judge this year for the first time as pre-roll. And so really just leaning into the culture, expanding. As far as the products go, we are actively looking for more licensing deals to expand the RSO product line. We really see it like, as everything's fragmented right now, you have got to go plant your flag somewhere, because when it opens up nationally, if you already have a following in different pockets of the country, it's going to be so much easier for you to do on a national level.
100%.
And so we've just really leaned into that. So product expansion, media expansion, events. And honestly, that's enough. I'm tired. It's a lot.
Yeah, I hear you.
4 people, man. That's a small team doing a lot.
It is.
dude.
Well, and you want to do things, you want to say yes to everything, but you recognize very shortly that I'm better doing less good than more bad. And so that's really the key, is picking and choosing the things that are correct for you and your brand and your personal life.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've almost gone the complete opposite of like I was always yes, and then like now maybe the last like 6 to 18 months or whatever, now I'm like no to everything. You know? It's just like funny how that could shift.
Well, and if you create scarcity and value, then
exactly,
you just do less but
too.
make the same money. And so that's that's the goal. I think with any business, you start out, you gain notoriety, you begin to put more value on what you do, and you do less for more. So
yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming. You're a legend. It's a fucking great episode.
Where can people find you guys?
beerbrosfarms.com, farms with a PH. On Instagram, Beer Bros Farms, again, farms with a PH. LinkedIn, we have both a personal account for myself, Bill Levers, and Jeff Levers, and a Beer Bros Farms account. Twitter, again, Beer Bros Farms. We try to hit all the ones. The ones we haven't gotten into was really my son, who's 30, said, "Dad, you can't be on Snapchat or TikTok, so don't even."
No, you and Jeff need to do some TikTok.
We actually should now.
You guys
That should
should.
probably
But when it started, it was like, "No, Dad, don't get on TikTok."
do
I
not
was like,
dance.
"Okay."
Yeah.
So, but
No dancing,
just
yeah.
continue to expand social media. You can find us on all those platforms, and we appreciate you having us down. We've been fans of yours before we met you, and known you for years now, and always appreciated the excellent work you guys do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
brother.
man. Make sure you guys go check out Bill and Jeff and the Beer Bros. Stay up on all the cannabis news, everything that's going on in the industry and the community, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Oh,
Oh, that was fucking sick, dude.
So people have been